Over the past few episodes, we have grown Vanilla Shores massively. We have gone from a community that were based purely on islands to a great, big, beautiful town on the mainland. However, that being said, I do feel like something is missing. And that's because our old historical town that we developed over the last few episodes isn't really cohesive. In fact, if you take a little look at this from the bird's eye view, you've got the old town here, and then a suburban developments, followed by another slightly higher density area, and then eventually way more suburban sprawl along here as well. And what this gives me the impression of is a load of residential areas feeding into our old town here. But I'm looking to create something a little bit more cohesive for our next project here. Something more resembling a downtown, perhaps something a bit more American. I mean, this, in my opinion, is already very European, so maybe we should be looking at another part of the world for our next idea. And why not look to America? And so I started to zoom out on the map, and I started to think to myself, where on earth could we start this downtown? And initially, although I was looking down into the distance over there, I spotted a plot of land right here that I thought would do a very good job for a downtown. In fact, we already have the tile unlocked. I think it was unlocked from the beginning of the game, and we are actually just opposite our original island, which means, you know, boat connections, ferry traffic could be a potential over here. Now, first things first, I do want a bit more space. This little town over here is, well, like I just said, a little town. I want our downtown to be bigger. I want it to be more impressive and have some, I suppose, some slightly more grand buildings and architecture as well. We are actually going to buy this great big tile over here as well that I think should do the job for our downtown. It's great that we've got ourselves a highway connection over here and another highway connection over here at the top also, which means our downtown is going to be very well connected to the remainder of the map eventually. And what I'm envisioning for our downtown is that we're going to have these two beautiful bays either side of this jutting out bit of land, and these bays are going to be beaches. We're not going to build upon them, but this center here is going to be an absolute hub of economic activity. And if that's going to be the case, we're obviously going to need some really good road connections into this area. What I see coming along here is a 3-lane one-way road that's basically going to supply this entire jutting out piece of land with a road connection, and we're then going to get some really large roundabouts either side of these pieces of road, because we're then going to add in our next level of infrastructure, which is going to be a great big 4-lane one-way road. And my idea for this road is to create another larger ring road around this entire downtown area. And so what we're going to do is try to get this road to skirt along the beach as much as we possibly can without interfering with any of the wildlife, I suppose, that would be living alongside the beach. We're going to connect up these two great big roundabouts as well, and this humongous road is going to come right along this bay also before curling up along here. And we're actually going to try to retain as much of this kind of green border as possible, and so we're going to bring this road directly along here, and then we're going to marry it up just like this. Highway connection is obviously going to be very important, and I'm actually going to future-proof this a little bit by upgrading this highway from a 2-lane two-way highway to a 4-lane two-way highway. That's going to connect straight up to this ring road here with another beautiful big roundabout just like this. I'm not too sure what the road markings are doing here because obviously it's a one-way system here, so strictly speaking you should be able to go around this roundabout to then exit to other parts of the city. I hope this works. If it doesn't, we're going to have to find a little bit of a workaround for that. But for the time being, this is looking pretty decent, in my opinion at least. And then what I then next envision is a beautiful 4-lane road that comes straight through the middle of this area here, all the way up the rest of our downtown until we meet the highway over here. And then once again, working with all of our one-way roads that we seem to be liking quite a bit right now, we're going to then grab our 3-lane one-way roads to then create this kind of connection. And I think regarding traffic management, this should hopefully, fingers crossed, at the very least work a little bit. I suppose we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Because this is going to be our downtown area, I think it's very important that we have ourselves some really distinct buildings in this area to give it a bit of a impression that it's not just any other kind of urban development like our town down in this area over here. This is going to be a nice, bustling and busy place to reside and work in. And I think a very distinct building to have in an area like this is going to be an educational institution, specifically speaking, a university. And so we're going to unlock this university building here. And oh my goodness, this thing is absolutely immense. Maybe we have to unlock something else instead. Perhaps the technical university. Let's take a little look and see what this technical university is like. Oh, hey. I was expecting this to be smaller than the university, but this is actually significantly bigger. Okay, we've got one more try, guys. If we go for the medical university, please, this has to be right now. Come on, medical university. Okay, the medical university is still, to be fair, absolutely enormous, but at least it seems ever so slightly more compact. And I actually think on this kind of big, great main road here, this might actually be a really, really good idea of a place to have our medical university. So we are just going to commit to it and stick it down like this. And we're now going to build some roads around this area. This preliminary kind of plan here for this kind of quadrant of our inner downtown is actually looking pretty nice. We've got an entrance here for our medical university. We've also got another entrance exit over here, and both of them very, very effectively and easily connect up to the rest of our main road grid network. There is something else that I want to unlock for this development we're currently working on, and that is the beautiful police headquarters. It is a terribly expensive building, however, it's got a decent jail capacity, loads of patrol cars as well, and again, very similar to the medical university, it's a pretty big and impressive building. It looks very administrative-like, and I think it's going to fit really, really nicely into our downtown here. Now, what I'm envisioning right now for this downtown is that this side of our quadrant is going to be a lot more residential, whereas this area here is going to be a bit more commercial, a bit more bustling, bit more stuff happening, I suppose. And like many commercial areas, it's going to be very grid-based. And this is exactly the kind of grid that I was thinking of. We've left plenty of space over here to build a police headquarters, which we're going to put right on the corner over here. Obviously, we're going to start beautifying all of this when things start to spawning as well. What I see us having in this kind of central area here is some North American mixed housing all along this area here, creating a bit of like a shopping hub, I suppose you could call it, within loads of North American low-density businesses either side of this, whereas on this side over here, we're going to be focusing a lot more on residential instead, going for as much North American row housing as you can see. I suppose the row homes will come in handy as like student accommodation for the medical university that we've got here as well, so I guess that kind of makes a lot of sense. As we start to head more towards our true hub and heart over here, we're obviously going to be shifting to slightly different kinds of zoning. So we're going to go for some low density office buildings down these roads right by our police headquarters, because I guess, I don't know, it just feels a bit more administrative in this area, and I think it makes a lot more sense to have that stuff there. Talking about our great big hub that we're going to have over here, there is something we obviously have not spoken about yet, which is what we're actually going to put in this area. Now, the first thing I'm actually going to put in this area is going to have to be unlocked once again on our progression panel. We're going to go down to Parks and Recreation, and we're going to unlock with 8 points tourist attractions. And that is because I have eyed up the great, beautiful bronze statue. And I think this bronze, oh my goodness, well, he's a looker. I thought I was expecting like a Statue of Liberty, kind of more feminine kind of statue. This is interesting. I suppose we could have it over here then. And the next real question is, do you want him to be looking out into the water, over to this island here, or looking upon his city? I personally think it actually looks really quite nice him looking out, so any kind of maritime traffic and stuff comes to see his face as he greets them into this new downtown area we're developing. And so I actually think if we put him down here, this will work out really quite nicely. And I've actually just slightly changed my mind on what I'm going to do. And that is because I thought it would actually be better to have this guy on a slightly sleepier kind of road like this, as we're now able to put a medium parking lot in this area here to hold all of the tourists that are going to be in this area, visiting this great big bronze statue. Obviously, if tourists are going to be coming to this area with a bronze statue, we're obviously going to need some kind of public transport network integrated into all of this. What better of a place to have a bus station than right over here on our main road here? Although it's kind of one-way systemed, we do have a bit of a loop that's being created here where if a bus does come along here, they can go right along here, up here, and then down here as well. So we've got a bit of like a roundabout within our roundabouts. It's getting a little bit confusing, but it all seems to be working fine, which is really, really good. And I actually think having the bus station here makes a lot of sense, because what we're going to have from this bus station is a load of pedestrian paths leading us to our kind of commercial hub over here and our residential hub, educational hub over here, but then also our tourist area across this main road. And so let's start focusing on pedestrian paths. And just like that, we have connected all of our central downtown together. We've obviously got our centerpiece here connected by a pedestrian path to our bus station. That bus station is connected to like a tri-point junction here, where one pathway heads towards our more commercial side, whilst this pathway connects more to our residential side. We've also got not just a pedestrian path, but also a cycle lane that goes along not just one, but both of our bays. And talking about our bays, I have actually reserved and saved this beautiful section of our one-way system here for a very good reason. And that's because we are going to get ourselves some North American medium density housing to go right along our coast here. And I think it's going to look absolutely beautiful when it starts to spawning, which is going to be super exciting to see, which will then slowly, gradually build down through some mixed housing, eventually down to some row homes at the next available junction. And we'll do the exact same thing over here, getting some North American mixed housing along this area here, before we then convert to some row homes right up to this great big beautiful roundabout here. I'd say there's probably one final very obvious thing that we're missing in this area here, considering we've got a medical university, which is a hospital. And so we're going to once again burn through some of these progression points to unlock a hospital. And this hospital is actually going to be the first building that we're going to develop into our deeper part of the downtown. I think it makes a lot more sense to have the hospital here because obviously the road it's now connecting to is a two-way road rather than a one-way system where the ambulances would have to go all the way around just to get somewhere. So I think that kind of makes a lot more sense actually. Maybe this little area here on the outskirts can kind of just be a bit of a utility/service area, which is obviously going to be very, very important, as we are definitely going to need a post office and a radio mast. Maybe this is where we could put our firehouse as well. Maybe just like a little dirt path to this radio mast here. And then we've got a little bit of an alleyway connecting our post office and firehouse to the main road eventually, which I think actually looks pretty nice in this little corner here. Despite this being a bit more of like a city kind of feel, we obviously still have plenty of people living in this area, which means we're going to need an elementary school, we're going to need a high school, but we're going to go for the city versions of those, with a city elementary school on this corner here and a city high school along here. We might as well go ahead and hit play and just see how the simulation starts to work, because it's going to give us a good idea as to what we're currently missing. First things first, obviously electricity. We can get ourselves a pretty nice, compact little transformer station here. I'm going to go for the slightly uglier version just because I do feel like it adds a nice level of realism to the map. And we're going to connect this up to our current underground connections that we have. That should resolve all of the power issues, which it has. And obviously the next thing is going to be water and sewage treatment. But connect that up to our external connections and all of those issues go away as well. Now, obviously right now we don't actually have much medium or high density demand and definitely no office demand, which is exactly what our people are wanting right now. And so not much is probably actually going to spawn in for the time being. However, that is perfectly fine because although this is going to be our downtown center, our actual kind of sprawling suburbia for the downtown is going to come in the next episode, satisfying, fingers crossed, all of this low density residential demand with absolute just rows and rows, grids and grids of residential that I think will work really, really quite nicely to then eventually build up towards our downtown area over here. Obviously, it looks very barren right now, but when things start to spawn in, it is going to look absolutely amazing. And I think probably next episode is going to be where we start to see that happen. I do actually think it's probably a good idea to have offices kind of skirt around the ring road along here because they don't really demand many cars most of the time, which is going to be a good thing for the kind of general flow of this road. But at the same time, it creates a bit of a buffer alongside this road so that there is actually some kind of things built up along this main ring road rather than it just looking completely barren and naked. I don't have really a problem with the left side or the external side of this ring road not having anything spawned on because it basically is just forest, which is kind of what we want, so I'm not complaining too much about that. But I think we're going to finish off this episode just by beautifying a few extra bits and pieces, so enjoy the time lapse. There you have it, the beginnings of our downtown. we've got our great big bronze statue. If you guys have an idea as to what you want to name this thing, then make sure you leave it in the comments below. But as you can see, we have beautified the park around him alongside beautifying both of our coastlines with some pretty little palm trees alongside our pedestrian/cycle pathway, looking out onto the coast in front of them. We've also put a load of trees around our police headquarters, sort of just aiding in that sort of level of secrecy, I suppose, that the police are going to want from certain angles with people not looking into their windows from certain perspectives. And we've also tree-lined the medical university ever so slightly. Now, as I said earlier in the episode, guys, a lot of what we've done today is going to be spawning in over the next episode. And that is because, obviously, as we said a moment ago, a lot of the stuff here is medium and high density, which we do not have demand for right now, as you can see. But next episode, where we start to expand our downtown to this area, building some actual residential low density areas that are going to skyrocket our population and start making us even more profitable, I think the demand for medium density residential, commercial, and offices is going to come in, and this entire downtown area is just going to absolutely boom and explode. Regarding public transport, right now we've obviously got our city bus station. However, considering how busy and popular of an area this is going to be, we obviously are going to need something more, and that is where our train terminus train station is going to come in. We're going to stick it probably in this area here next episode, with the train line then shooting off into the distance, connecting the rest of our city. So make sure you stay tuned for next episode, because that is really where everything is going to become truly game-changing in my opinion. And although nothing is actually spawned in this area right now, guys, I do feel like this area is already feeling a lot more downtowny than what our old town. As you can see, our old town is screaming population, it's screaming popularity and growth. However, it is still significantly smaller, less dense, and well, the old town buildings I think give the impression that it is a bit smaller of a town. And then obviously when you go into our suburban sprawl here as well, the density is actually quite spread out. However, that is not what I'm going to be looking for in our downtown. And that's because in our downtown area here, just beyond the hospital and where our train station is going to be, I'm looking for super dense, low density housing going all the way down beyond here. Hopefully the road network will be able to tolerate the actual traffic. We might be upgrading this to an even larger road next episode. We'll see what happens, but I'm actually quite happy with the position we're in right now with how our downtown is doing. If you enjoy content like this and you want to see some more City Skylines 2 Vanilla Shores content as we grow and expand from the islands to the mainland, as we've now been doing over the last few episodes, then make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss out on a brand new video, and make sure you hit a like as well if you enjoy content like this, because it makes a world of difference to the channel and I'll be forever thankful. As always, guys, thank you so very much for joining me on this great adventure as we continue to grow Vanilla Shores, and I will see you next episode as we develop, grow, and expand the rest of our downtown in this direction very, very soon.